Yo, what's going on guys, Arekkz here, welcome back to another Destiny 2 video. Finally, the official reveal trailer for Destiny 2 has dropped. I will link it down below, definitely check it out. It is equal parts epic and funny because of course Cade loves to bring the humour. But it is so awesome to finally see it after that really awesome teaser we had a couple of days ago. Now we have the full thing. Now it's just a cinematic trailer, it is just CG, but we do have a gameplay reveal on the horizon, so that is not too far away. I'll speak about that in a moment. But what I want to do in this video is break down the trailer, talk about all the important things because there are still some brand new things, even though it's CG, some new stuff we've seen, and of course that could well hint at the direction we are going. So if you do enjoy this, then a like would be super appreciated. Any questions, drop them down below. If you're hyped, drop it down below. Basically, just take to the comments and let me know what you think. Now, just before I start breaking down the trailer, I want to actually take a few extracts from some blog posts. I will also link all of those down below. There is an Activision blog post, a PlayStation blog post, and of course also one on the official Bungie.net website. Basically, this gives us a few additional bits of information. First up, the PC version for Destiny 2 is confirmed. The pre-order page for Destiny 2 is now up. The video I uploaded earlier today with regards to that leak that came from a Spanish retailer, that is now all true. The content of the Collector's Edition, the expansion passes, the kind of premise behind it, all of that stuff is true, so if you haven't seen that video, check it out. But long story short, there is a collector's edition, a limited edition, there will be an expansion pass, like a season pass, and there will be two expansions. The icons on the expansion, rather interestingly, the first one on the left is for Osiris, the second one is for, I believe, Rasputin, so those are some potentially very interesting expansions. I'm super excited to find out about those. Also, speaking of the gameplay reveal I mentioned, May the 18th is the date you want to put in your calendar. On that date, they said they will be revealing the gameplay live, so I imagine Bungie will take to their Twitch stream as they usually do for big announcements, so that is going to be extremely exciting. Definitely stay tuned for that. So that is May 18th. Also, confirmation of a beta. If you pre-order the game, you will get early access to the beta during summer. There is no date for it just yet, but that is when it's coming out. And if you don't pre-order it, there will be an open beta segment, so if you guys don't necessarily want to commit to buying it just yet, you will still be able to test out the game over summer. You'll of course just get it a little bit later than those who pre-order. Furthermore, the September 8th release date has also been confirmed, so that is now another date you can put in your calendar. Of course, it means we get the beta in summer, and then on September 8th, we get to dive into our new adventure. Now, a couple more things. The extract from the Activision blog post actually gives us a little bit of context as to the setting for Destiny 2. It says, quote unquote, "In Destiny 2, the last safe city on Earth has fallen and lay in ruins, occupied by a powerful new enemy and his elite army, the Red Legion. As a Guardian in Destiny 2, players must master new abilities and weapons to reunite the city's forces, stand together and fight back to reclaim their home. In Destiny 2, players will embark on a fresh story filled with new destinations around our solar system to explore, and an expansive amount of activities to discover. There is something for almost every type of gamer in Destiny 2, including gameplay for solo, cooperative and competitive players set within a vast, evolving and exciting universe. Additionally, this is the slightly annoying bit, but of course we kind of saw it coming, PlayStation 4 gamers will still receive access to timed exclusive content for Destiny 2, and that timed exclusive content will last until fall 2018. So it seems like they're still keeping the time frame they had before. Pete Parsons then went on to say, "We're looking forward to sharing a fresh, inviting story, and with the upcoming Destiny 2 beta slated for this summer, we are eager to get feedback from millions of players around the world who will get a glimpse of the new adventures that will unfold for us all. Together with our partners at Activision, we are thrilled to get Destiny 2 in the hands of the players in September. Destiny 2 will launch September 8th on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and for the first time in Destiny's history, PC. And with regards to the collector's editions, I will link you to the pre-order page. You can check them all out down below. The full-blown massive collector's edition, the one that comes with the bag, that will set you back $249. And as for the other ones, you can definitely check the prices. But that is all the information that is not in the trailer. That's the stuff on the blog post, so if you haven't seen that, you are now up to date. But now, let's turn our attention to the exciting stuff. Let us break down this trailer. The very first thing you see is, of course, the last city, the last safe city on Earth. The Traveller also looks like he's in pretty bad shape with, of course, some damage wounds around him. Everywhere is on fire. The interesting thing, though, is the fact that we are surrounded by this forest here. The fact that we are going to be visiting new locations in Destiny 2 makes me hope for something like the European Dead Zone. If you cast your mind back to some of the old concept art, there are some really cool, lush, forest-looking areas, so I'm really hoping that is where we get to venture to. Of course, just seeing the forest here doesn't necessarily confirm that, but it is still something to consider. Of course, ships flying into the centre, some of which are Red Legion Cabal ships. The next scene turns our attention to Commander Zavala briefing some of the last standing civilians, some of the last standing Guardians. Basically, a lot of stuff has happened in the city, we've lost a lot of people, and we are effectively now trying to band together and all the last survivors are going to have to try and fight back. So Zavala is giving his rather epic speech. Again, in this forest-like location, this may well be the European Dead Zone, as I said before, or it could be somewhere else entirely. Again, with the tower in flames behind them, and the Traveller right above. Also worth noting as well, behind Zavala, while most of these kind of Guardians are just sort of general civilians and Guardians, there is Zur right at the back over here, so that's probably confirmation that he is still kicking around. Of course, as a direct contrast to Zavala's epic speech, we have Cade, who then gives his kind of comedy speech. I do actually really like this sort of juxtaposition between the dark, kind of brooding Zavala, who's trying to be very serious and kind of motivational, and Cade, who just, you know, doesn't take anything seriously, even though they are in the middle of a pretty bad situation. Either way, they are both doing the same thing. They're both kind of briefing different people. Cade, however, is in a very different area. This looks much more like a kind of derelict city. Perhaps this is actually the last city itself. I don't think this is the tower. I think this is more likely to be further down when you consider sort of the way the scene is shot. So this is probably lower down in the last city. They're just trying to sort of, you know, find some refuge, group up, and then, of course, work out the next plan. During their speech, they of course recount the story. They recount the explosion we saw the other day. This is the Vanguard War Room getting completely destroyed. Zavala and Cade getting knocked back. Then cuts over to the next scene, and this is brand new. That's a brand new Cabal over there on the side. You can see he's got a fancy shield. It starts closed, but then it opens up and creates this sort of energy shield. So while yes, we have fought Cabal before, these guys being part of the Red Legion are definitely going to present a different challenge to what we're used to. And then behind this guy, you can see the kind of two raised blades from the big red guy we saw in the teaser the other day. He smashes through the wall. Aurora has to kind of duck out and evade because he is obviously a rather big threat. We then get to see Zavala coming in to save the day as Cade is about to be shot in the head. He then slams down with what I originally thought was a sword, but it actually looks like a gun just turned around backwards. He basically just sort of hits the Cabal's gun down, again being pretty badass. And then Aurora comes in and of course uses lightning to push the Cabal back. So that is probably confirmation that the Stormcaller will return. We of course know our characters are moving over, and we know that our classes are moving over. I would imagine that the existing subclasses will probably be revamped quite heavily, so they may not behave the same way that they do right now, but that is probably the first time we get confirmation that one of those is, of course, going to remain constant. Again, a quick shot of that scene that we saw the other day. This guy is clearly a brand new Cabal type. He's obviously not the main antagonist. We get to see that guy later on. He goes by the name of Ghoul. So this is just going to be one of those sort of bigger elite type enemies. Probably some sort of sub-boss or maybe like one of those named enemies. But either way, he's not the big, bad Red Legion leader. The thing I do want to turn my attention to, however, is this. This is, while we have seen brand new Cabal, this is probably the closest thing we've got so far to a brand new enemy type that we have never seen before. This is a four-legged Cabal-style dog. I'm not entirely sure what it is. It's got armor plating on its head. It's got these sort of spines on its back. But it is definitely a dog-type enemy, so I expect those to probably run at you in packs. You'll probably find in combat that like 4 or 5 of those will rush you, so there'll be those irritating dog-type enemies that are fast, probably easy to take down. But either way, that is really cool to see, something that we've definitely never seen before. Seeing the Cabal is cool and everything, because of course it is a race that hasn't necessarily had as much attention, as much kind of time in the limelight so much, but they are still a race we are somewhat familiar with. So this is definitely something brand new. Then cutting to the next scene, we see the tower, the sort of city, again just crumbling down, obviously loads of debris, more damage and everything like that. This is of course the gunsmith's weapon locker. This gets completely destroyed, further reinforcing the fact that everything they had in the tower is pretty much gone. However, the next thing I want to turn my attention to is this scene here. This is the big ship for the Red Legion. Of course, there are loads of these. We saw them flying in at the beginning of the trailer. But what's really interesting is there is a ship here fighting the Red Legion, kind of cruiser or warship, whatever you want to call it. Now, this does not mean to say that ship combat is confirmed, not by any means whatsoever. However, it would still be cool to think that they may do a little bit more with ships in Destiny 2. So if there is any sort of component that involves us using our ships for more than just a glorified loading screen, that could be super awesome. This is, of course, definitely a ship here going on the offensive against the Cabal fleet, so if there is an element of that in-game, that would be sweet. However, the next scene is where we actually get to see the big man himself. This guy goes by the name of Ghoul. He is the main antagonist. He is the one that is leading the assault against the city, against the Traveller, against the tower, so he is going to be our, I would imagine, big raid boss we fight at the end. Also, funnily, during the Cade scene, he doesn't remember his name and he calls him Gary.
His name is
Gary! Or Gil. Glenn? Is it? I don't know. It's something with a G!
That is forever going to be his name going forward. It's going to be, let's defeat Gary in the raid. But this guy looks pretty mean. It almost looks a little bit, especially looking at the helmet, like that Trials of Osiris helmet. But he's got full metal-plated armor, big sort of wings in the back, looking very ominous. But it cuts away from that very quickly, and we don't necessarily get too much after that. And then after that scene, it basically just sort of like pans back to them sort of giving the finishing part of their speech, trying to motivate all the survivors and whatnot. Cade isn't doing a very good job, but regardless, that is pretty much all we can see. There are a couple of shots of some Guardians that can show some potentially new armor, some things we haven't seen before, But again, during the CG trailer, it's not necessarily something I can focus on too much right now. I'll save that for the gameplay stuff when we actually start seeing stuff in action. But for the time being, that is the trailer. That is a breakdown. That is all the important parts. If there's anything you guys saw that I perhaps haven't mentioned, definitely talk about it in the comments down below. But for the time being, let me know what you think. I am super excited. I'm super hyped for this. I've already watched the trailer many, many times, but I plan to go and watch it again right now. So thank you very much for watching. Take it easy. Catch you next time. Peace out.